Hello and welcome to Charter Local Edition Northwest. I'm Dana Cowley and today we're in Grand Ronde, Oregon and we're covering the Oregon Coast Economic Summit. My guest today is Oregon Senator Jeff Kruse. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, Dana.
You're playing a large role in the conference this weekend.
It would appear so, yes. I'm on several panels. So,
what message do you bring?
Well, it depends on the subject area. I'm on an education panel, one dealing with transportation and one dealing with marijuana, which she'll be interested in and of itself. But the message I'm trying to bring is it's time to put communities back in control of their own future.
Well, let's jump right in on your favorite subject. Your greatest passion is for education.
Yes.
You love and care about our young people.
Yes.
And you're concerned about the dropout rate.
Yeah, the dropout rate in Oregon is at about 60% right now, which is tragic, and so one has to ask the question why. And a few years ago, the legislature, in its infinite wisdom, eliminated the position of elected school superintendent and made the governor the superintendent. It was Kitzhaber at the time, and also created a thing called the Oregon Education Investment Board, which turned out to be basically a group of fine people, but with very little expertise in education, and their purpose was to rubber stamp whatever Governor Kitzhaber wanted. And in my mind, John's ultimate objective was to combine education, healthcare, and social services all into one entity that he would control, because John was smarter than the rest of us. Well, John Kitzhaber is not an issue we have to deal with anymore. The courts will deal with him at some point in time. So Kate Brown is now the governor, and the one thing we did this last legislative session is we eliminated the Oregon Education Investment Board.
That's what I was going to say. That came into being and then went out of being.
It went away. And in the meantime, during the interim, we have a work group working on creating what will replace it. And quite honestly, I think all of the boards we have, because there's a board for community colleges, a board for higher ed, a board for K-12, and now we've got this pre-K entity going. And at some point in time, it needs to all be consolidated, because education should be a seamless process from when you enter school until you graduate, whether it's with a baccalaureate degree or an associate degree.
Well, and that also goes along with your feeling of trying to make things smaller and to give back more to local control.
Yeah, I mean, you know, my favorite example is No Child Left Behind, which is a federal program which the state of Oregon bought into. And most state governments will blindly chase federal dollars, and I think that was what we did in this case. So what I have discovered over time is the amount of money we get from the feds for No Child Left Behind is less than what it costs to comply with all the mandates required for the federal government. So we actually lose money in the process. But it also comes back to the fact that the product of the public school system was better when there was local control. At this point in time, school boards really have very little to say about anything anymore, because all the tests are standardized, and teachers have very little to say anymore because they're held to a standard of the standardized tests, so they don't have the freedom to actually teach in ways that they can reach the kids. They have to teach to the test, which is absolutely the wrong way to go. And on top of that, there's no involvement of the parents anymore, because it's all pretty scripted. And when we had a local school board accountable for the product of the school in that community, the line of accountability was pretty direct with the community. And we also had a lot more parents involved in the education of their kids, and the product was a lot better.
Well, and you mentioned No Child Left Behind. My children are in high school now, but I remember that coming into being when they were in elementary school. And then really you have to evaluate these things again when you're looking and saying, my high school dropout rate is 60%. Well, No Child Left Behind was implemented when these children were in elementary school. What's happened?
what's happened is for a lot of kids, it's such a structured system now that I think for a lot of kids, they don't see a benefit in getting an education. You know, and on top of that, we implemented at the state level a thing, it's an aspirational goal. It's 40-40-20. And where 40% of kids will graduate with will get a baccalaureate degree, 40% with an associate degree, and 20% just with a high school diploma. Well, if you look at the workforce needs over the next decade or so, it's not baccalaureate degrees. It's technical jobs and technical training that can take anywhere from 9 months to maybe a year and a half to complete. So if the system is pointing all these kids to a 4-year degree, and oh, by the way, if you get a 4-year degree, it really is worthless unless you get another degree on top of it. We know, I'm an example of that. You know, so what we are not doing with this 40-40-20 thing is really showing kids a pathway. If you stay in school and do your work, there's your reward, a job. And we aren't showing them that. And for these kids, we have to be able to connect a personal gain, a personal reason for them to jump through the hoops. Now, you know, sports and things like that have always been one of those things that makes that connection, because if you love playing football, you have to make grades to stay on the team.
Sure, and then you're going to get a scholarship to college and maybe get on a pro team.
Yeah, or at least you can play football and you're with your friends. And it's for a lot of the other extracurricular activities, it's the same thing. You have standards you have to meet to participate. And so, you know, just going to class isn't enough for a lot of these kids. There has to be a goal that they can achieve, something that they would like to do at the end to make it worth the effort we're asking them to put in, and we're not providing that for them.
Senator, thank you. I sure appreciate you coming to join us.
You bet, my pleasure.
I wish you the best of luck with the things you're trying to accomplish.
You know, it's all for the kids. Everybody says it's all for the kids, but in this case, it truly is. We need a system where the kids can actually benefit and not the bureaucracy.
Thank you. This is Senator Jeff Kruse from Oregon. I'm Dana Cowley, and thanks for watching. This is Charter Local Edition Northwest.